Hi everyone, welcome to the SDSU Explore event for Liberal Studies. My name is Amanda Vela and I'm a senior here at SDSU. I transferred from San Diego Mesa College in the fall of 2019 and I'm currently a CSET waiver applicant, a teaching credential applicant for the fall of 2021, and I've worked in 5 schools in the San Diego Unified School District. I'm completing the traditional pathway where there's 5 years. I understand that most of you are freshmen and are interested in the ITEP Pathway, the 4-year program. Even though our programs are different, I wanted to share a few tips and things I've learned while completing my observations. Right, so my usual process of reaching out to a school starts with finding out how many hours are required for observation for a course. Then I fit those hours into my schedule. I get a negative TB test, live scan clearance that's only done once, and then I get a letter from my professor. Usually it's a letter saying that you're a student from SDSU and you're looking to complete your observation hours. Then I finally look for a school that I'd like to work with. I find their volunteer page, complete their volunteer form that just gives my information, allows the school to run a background check on me, and also it's an agreement that says I won't be watching a classroom on my own, or I won't be sharing any information from the students that I'll be working with. So once I have all of this information, I put it together in an email and send it to a volunteer coordinator for the school that I'm interested in working with. And I also include the grades that I'd like to work with. So usually when I start in a classroom, I have a starting date that is agreed upon between me and the teacher that we figured out over email. When I go to the classroom, I introduce myself to the students. I say my name, where I go to school at, and what I'm going to school for teaching. And I usually say something silly about myself that the students can remember and possibly start a conversation with me about, like, I really like dogs, or I like to be creative, I hope you do too, or something like that. So after you introduce yourself, you kind of start off with teacher prep. That's just putting together materials, preparing things for the class. You kind of do that for about a week or two just to get used to the class, and then you start working with students. After that, you work with students in whatever subject you're there for. So if you're there for an hour a day, you could start working on language arts or math or whatever it is that they're doing. You'll be working with the students at that time. The next step is reading to the class. That's usually when the class becomes more familiar with you. And the next step is working with groups of 3 to 5 students. That's when the teacher really gets to feel comfortable with you working with the students, and just so you can get some experience and start working with a larger group of students. So you're probably all wondering what a normal pre-COVID schedule might look like. So this was mine when I worked at Loma Portal Elementary. I was able to fit in working Monday through Friday throughout the week, working in 2 classrooms from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. You don't have to do that. That's just what I decided to do so I could get a lot of experience working in those classrooms. I was able to also go to the SDSU main campus in all afternoon classes Monday through Thursday, and I was also able to work Friday through Sunday and still maintain a pretty high GPA for that time. And for those of you wondering about getting observation hours during COVID, or if there's a Zoom class that you're interested in working with, it is possible. I was able to work in 2 different classrooms over Zoom during the COVID period. It's kind of the same process of getting into the classroom and just working with your professor and letting them know what might be some limits of working with those students and work around those. So starting off, students meaning us, might be a little nervous working in the classroom. It might not know how to make the classes comfortable with us working there. So what I usually do is to make myself comfortable at first, I have a classroom journal just to fill in those times when you're not doing teacher prep or other things in the class it's just kind of a quiet time, I go around with my classroom journal and just write notes. It usually helps me complete my observation log for later on, and also the first thing that I do when I go to a new class, I write down the kind of the layout of the class and where each student sits so that I can remember their name, and also write something that interests the students so that I can bring that up later. Right. And my next tip would be to wear appropriate clothing, usually just clothes that are easy for bending down and moving around the classroom. Also clothing that is professional clothing and clothes that make you feel comfortable and confident and that you will hopefully feel great about later on if you're applying to work at that school. Last tip is just to come in with a positive attitude into the classroom. It helps, especially if you're working with a student and you might not understand the question or what the directions are. You'll kind of figure it out as you go on, but keeping a positive attitude and not feeling frustrated is definitely important. And my last step for students, for future teachers, is to visit your advisors. If you have a question about a class or a requirement, always make sure that you have those cleared, especially for the credential program now that you'll be doing that. Also to get involved, there's so much to do on campus and within the liberal studies program. There's always something to do and to meet other people. So I would really recommend just keeping an eye out for anything that interests you or the programs that you can get a certificate from. Those will really be helpful for you within your 4 years at State. And also, always save your observation logs. Save them on a digital file, save them in a paper form. You might lose a paper form, so always make sure you have them on a digital file. They're not really things you can just replace, so always make sure you have those on hand and on a digital file. Alright, that is everything for me. Thank you so much for listening. I wish you all the best and good luck on your teaching journey, everyone.